Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, dollar has gone, yeah. All right, so this CNBC article dropped. It seemed like it was potentially at least somewhat of a response to maybe the bridge loan press, which, by the way, must have been fun for you to navigate, like your first, few days or weeks. I don't know how long you had been in that position, but that was interesting when it happened. And now we've got this CNBC article: Major League Pickleball looks to add teams reach profitability this year. And then there was an interesting statistic about one team. Two of the let's see, on a team by team basis, two of the league's 22 clubs are profitable, and one has reached the break even point. So I like the idea of kind of looking at the individual teams, looking at how they're running their businesses, and I did think it was notable that only two are profitable at this point. That said, it's very difficult to make an individual team profitable. You have to get pretty creative, have a lot of different revenue streams. But what do you think, like those two teams specifically, what do you think they're doing differently to reach profitability and then that third reaching break even that others aren't?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I had a similar insight, right? Like if you look at things in aggregate, it's like, oh my God, like you can never make money if you're an MLP team. Like there's, plenty of people that I think have that rhetoric or that narrative. The two that are profitable from what we've seen from a success standpoint without like disclosing, so we can't really disclose like team financials, but they are top in class at sponsorship, and they're really, really good at leveraging the other assets in their portfolio to create value. Those, like I would say, are sort of narratively the through lines that we saw as it relates to teams being successful in terms of the business side. And by the way, like not that different than why the Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in all of the NFL, because they also own their stadium. They have a huge practice facility that hosts has real estate component tied to it and hosts the national, or excuse me, the Texas State Finals for football. Like they, that's the business for a lot of successful, like the Knicks. They are on MSG. They are the owner that owns the media network, owns the team. Like there, that dynamic exists across sports, and like we're starting, I would argue, not ironically or coincidentally, but like the reality of that's like how you start to build real enterprise value for a sports team. And so those two things are what set those apart. And when you like double click into the spectrum of teams, like for me and my ultimate goal here is the more successful the teams are, the better it is for the league, the better it is for the players. Like this is going to work. It's just a matter of when. And what had me excited is like part of it is just raising the tide of the boats, like get you to shift from the left where you're not doing a ton of revenue more towards like the right end of the spectrum where you're like doing better. And it's on the league to like help with that, get you more slots on TV, get our social following up, have more of an opportunity for you to market players. Okay, now you have six players that you can utilize that maybe all average 10 to 20K in social following instead of four. But yeah, to your original question, pretty amazing that like I mean, it just depends if you look at like time frame of MLP teams. I can always consider this like year two. Like year two, we've like started to achieve some of that.
Yeah, well, this is like we're now really starting to see these individual franchises break out as their own businesses, whereas before it was all one collective. And Steve Kuhn and co were responsible for the P&Ls across the board, but now each individual franchise is making their own decisions and trying to figure out ways to monetize. But I mean, it seems to me like at least in the interim, you got to build a media property and events. I don't think merch is going to be anything significant at this point. So it's got to be media and it's got to be your own events. And I have seen some of the teams really start to double down on the events. I mean, the Ranchers are a good example of like, I don't know, they had a airplane hangar with like Lil Wayne and celebrities, and they did this whole brand activation, right? Like that's a splashy thing that you can go to Athletic Greens or Nike or whatever, and you can sell sponsorships into, and it can be decently meaningful.
Totally, totally. And it's what I suggest that teams really need to look at hard is like that local tie-in. Like there's a ton of opportunity in their respective backyards. We're city-based teams. Like, I get it, it's not perfect. We do have a festival-style circuit and all that stuff. But there is real money being spent on what the other examples like team building for like corporate events. Like pickleball is perfect, right? We always talk about like the community aspect, the wide addressable audience, low barrier to entry in terms of playing competitively. Like they, I'm sure, would be very interested in hosting a pickleball, many companies, a team building exercise. If you like branded it around the team, you got Zane who's like dabbing people up and being his sort of personality. Like now that's like a real package. It's like a real asset. Like people would be interested in. So I'm with you, man. Like there's opportunity there. It's now like let's go use our 22 team business owners to help this thing grow versus like the 3, 4, 5 sort of heads in the four walls of the league office that are like burdened with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think letting these billionaires free to go run their own teams as much as possible is a great business decision.
Yeah, shift the burden a little bit.
Yeah, man.
How many cracked pickleballs have you tossed in the trash lately? Too many, right? Komodo Pickleball has a solution, the BioBall. It's the world's first USAPA-approved biodegradable pickleball that lasts up to 5 times longer than standard balls, up to 70 games, thanks to technology that prevents them from going out of round so fast. Consistent bounce, superior control, and eco-friendly. Win for your game, win for the planet. Get your BioBalls at KomodoPickleball.com or visit the link in the description. Let's keep our courts green, one rally at a time. That's KOMODO pickleball.com. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie,